russosbrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
Well, there's been some heat between Booker T and Swerve Strickland, and it started with Booker T had made comments that he's been treated very well by WWE for his over 20 years being with the company, still there. Yeah. And Swerve Strickland from AEW was on Vlad TV, and he said he disagreed with Booker saying that he's been treated well because Vince McMahon said the N-word in front of him in that on-air segment with John Cena and Booker T backstage. So after this happened, Booker T had said that he spoke to Swerve, told him that he was disappointed with him for various reasons, and he said that all he did was he put Strickland on a pedestal and said he deserved to be AEW champion. Well, following the AEW pay-per-view, when it went off the air, the main event, which was Swerve Strickland versus Jon Moxley, the finish of the match, Swerve ended up getting screwed by the Young Bucks, allowing Moxley to retain the title. Well, Swerve got on the microphone in front of the crowd and said Booker T to the crowd after losing. So Booker T went on to his podcast after this, I believe it was the next day, and he said, I'm going to give Swerve Strickland a little bit of advice. That would be, don't be talking about something other than the pay-per-view at the end of the night. That's the main event. That's the last thing people are going to remember. The last thing people remembered is me, Booker T, my name being said. I'm sure Tony Khan doesn't appreciate the news, the headline not being what happened with all the matches. That was just a bad move.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's bad business. You know, why are you now taking something that's, again, behind closed doors? Again, it is personal. And again, it does no business. And you're now putting it out in a public forum, and you're putting it out, again, to Booker T's credit. You're putting it out, you know, in a moment where the focus should be on you. The heat should be on you. The focus and everything because that's the culmination of the entire night should be on you. And you now just put it all on Booker T. To what end? You're not going to make money with Booker T. You're not going to work with him. You're not going to do an angle with him. So why are you not at least saying Young Bucks or the Bucks? That's pretty good there. You know, that could be chatted.
That's a t-shirt. Yeah.
You know, or Jon Moxley instead of Booker T. That makes no sense and is another good indication of how lost these younger performers are in the understanding of what it is they're out there to do and how important little details like that are to do future business. Because it's now no longer about just doing business. It's now all about their own, you know, their own egos and their own axes that they have to grind. And why would you ever, I mean, quite honestly, ever have a problem with Booker T? That guy has been a champion of young talent and for years. And I think he has every right to say that WWE has been very good to him. You know, to say any different would be a lie. I mean, I think WWE has treated Booker T very well for over 20 years, you know, and I'm not saying he's not deserving of it at all. None of this, it sounds like you got a young guy that really doesn't have a bit of maturity or a sense of the real world to where he can see through the proper eyes and could have avoided all of this without.
Al, did you know? Do you know? Yeah. How does anybody have heat with Booker? How can anybody have heat with Booker T? Booker T has heat with me because I destroyed him in a cage match and took his title from him. But aside from that, Al, the art of Al, I swear to God, man,
you know that Tony Khan was Booker of the Year every year.
Yeah, Al, the whole idea of doing business is out the window. Like we're seeing this now at the same exact time. Yeah. You're seeing this with Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton. It's clear these two women don't like each other.
But now listen.
Go ahead.
A lot of the trend is to be able to, and we used to do the same thing. Remember back, you know, you get that there was genuine heat with Triple H and The Rock, and you know, and guys would kind of throw digs if they had a little freedom to do it on the mic, you know, when they were in these promo deals to see who could get over on the other guy. You know, there was that competition that was there, and it was good because it really drove that much more business, but everyone understood what everyone was doing.
Right.
And everyone understood why, and everyone understood the benefit of it. and no one took it personally. I won't say who it was, but I remember encountering that years ago when I first got it. It was in WWF, and I worked with a guy on a pay-per-view, and as a heel, and I make some remarks about him and his valet as a heel, and afterwards come up and tell me that that hurt their feelings, and I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I never had encountered that in the wrestling business because it was always fair game. I remember when in Smoky Mountain as a heel, I'm standing there and I'm at an angle with Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton with Glenn Jacobs, Kane, Unabomb, and I have this idea to go out and kind of promo to get heat. So I basically have a letter written by Robert Gibson's mother, who's deaf, and I refer to Robert as her little.
Oh, you see, that's horrible, man. That's
when I went back in the locker room, Robert laughed and understood what I was doing, that I didn't mean any of it.
Alice, I just want you to know, I don't like you that much, but that's a shoot. That's not a work or anything.
And I don't mind.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Right.
It doesn't bother me when people don't like me. I still sleep naked. That way anybody can come around and kick my ass.
Al, I would have hated, bro. I saw this so many times in the business, and I always saw the guys do the eye roll. When your spouse is working with you and the spouse has an issue, and now you got to go to bat for it when you really don't want it. And I guarantee that's what happened with Mero.
It's not the time or the place to do it,
Yeah.
I mean,
that was Lex used to have to go through that crap with Liz at WCW. Poor David Heath and Luna. He had a that's like, God, bro, that's such a shitty spot to be in, man.
Yeah, and it puts heat on the other person, A lot of times that put heat on Gangrel, on David. Yeah. When Luna would be ready to fight somebody and he'd have to pull her off of it. It's like, you can't do that. I mean, it is business, and it's not a real business as much as you want. That's the dichotomy, and that's why a lot of the things that were passed through from one generation to the other in regards to the rules, I say the rules of etiquette and behavior, and are so important to understand, because it's so easy to get lost. Because you're having to go out there and believe in who you're presenting. You have to believe in that it's you. It has to be you, because otherwise it just doesn't sell. There's no such thing as a character. Characters don't work, because in order to be a character, you got to be an actor, and wrestlers are not actors. They're not professionally trained thespians. That doesn't work. They have to be who they really are and turn it up. You now need to go to the ring, and you individualistically have to want to try to be a star every time you go out there, while at times you're being asked to help somebody else be a star. But you still have to come out there and be the guy and think you're the guy and believe in why you're doing it. And then as you walk back through the curtain, you got to go and shut that off.
Yeah.
So that you don't now cross lanes with somebody else and start getting heat, or where they're not going to want to work with you and do business with you. Because that's the big. So what if they beat you up? Big deal. So you have a fight. Okay, grow up. So many people, so many adults. It amazes me how many adults will be like, "Well, I'm going to kick that guy's ass." You do realize this isn't a playground anymore. I hope you understand you're not at recess. When you make these statements about, "I'm going to go kick so and so's ass," you don't beat people up once you become an adult. You stop a threat. That's what you do. You don't, I'm going to go beat that guy up. No, you don't. No adult ever wants to try to beat somebody else up. They'll try to now put you in the hospital.
I'm going to push back on that.
Take away your livelihood.
I'm going to push back on that.
Beat you up.
I'm going to push back on that.
I'm telling you, man.
That's how I
grown man approaches you on the street. He's not approaching you to beat you up.
That's how I keep Jeff in line.